Blog Talk Radio.
The purple angel, oh purple angel, you're next to me. Purple angel, oh purple angel, you're next to me. You're next to me. You're next to me.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host and founder of Alzheimer Speaks, Lori LeBay. And you're going to have to bear with me a little bit today because I am just getting over a nasty virus going around Minnesota here, and I was actually without a voice for a solid week and a half. Not an easy thing for somebody who does radio shows and webinars and speaks an awful lot. So my voice sounds a little husky. I actually feel much better than what I sound. I'll try not to yak up a lung during this process too, and I hope none of you get this stuff. It's hitting Minnesota pretty hard, and so again, hopefully it will stay away from you. For those of you that are new to our show, I just want to give a little background as to who Alzheimer Speaks is and what we're all about. Alzheimer Speaks is a advocacy-based company, and we provide multiple platforms to shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort. And we do this by utilizing our platforms, which are picked up around the world. And it's really an honor and a pleasure to be able to talk with so many people doing so many cool things, making connections for people. It's a very exciting time to see how our dementia culture is really shifting from crisis to comfort. We believe at Alzheimer Speaks that by joining forces and sharing knowledge and just having everyday real conversations about life with dementia, that we're going to be able to remove the stigmas attached to memory loss, and we're going to be able to help those living with the disease, both those diagnosed and their family and friends and coworkers, live with purpose, live in harmony, and together we're going to be able to allow people, inside to know what it's really like, because so many people are isolated and they're so fearful of this diagnosis, and no one should be living in shame or fear because of a disease that they can't control. We have no cure, but we really don't even know what causes this disease. And so it's important for people to speak up. It's important for people to partake in clinical trials and really, help us try to find a cure. It's also important for the world to come together as one and share our knowledge, because dollars and budgets and staff is just so limited. We can't all be trying to recreate the wheel anymore. It's time for us to work collaboratively together. And I know that what we're doing is really working and having a large effect, because we were honored by being named the #1 influencer online for Alzheimer's by Dr. Oz and ShareCare. And that was just truly such an honor. And we did not do that alone by any way, shape, or form. That was with all of your help, your likes, your clicks, your shares, to your Facebook friends, to your Google circles, to your LinkedIn colleagues, and all your other social media. By having resources and information available to people, it's much easier for those in need to grab a hold of it and to feel that it's okay to look for that information when it's right in front of them. It kind of takes some of the intimidation out. So I would encourage you, if you're listening today, to please continue with that. The radio show. Let people know all the shows are archived, and we've been doing this for 3 years now. So there's tons of information. Go to alzheimerspeaks.com, and at the top there's a share button. You can share any page on our website. So if you want to tell people about the Purple Angel program or becoming dementia friendly, going to our resource page, all of that is there. And we've tried to make that really, really simple for you. So please tap into that. On our radio show, excuse me, here goes my voice again. On our radio show, we like to hear from our listeners as well. So please feel free to join in the conversation. And you can do that a couple of different ways. You can utilize the chat box and type in your comment or question, because I'll be reviewing that throughout the show. Or you can call in live, and that number is 714-364-4757. Again, that's 714-364-4757. And if you're, no matter where you are, if you don't have a phone and you're listening by your computer, you can call in utilizing Skype as well. So before we get started with our first guest, I do want to just do a shout out to a few organizations that I don't think everybody knows enough about. The first is the Purple Angel organization, which was started by Norms McNamara, and this is really a grassroots effort that is now in over 17 countries. And all it is a graphic, an angel with a globe that you can utilize as a symbol for dementia. You can put it on your Facebook page. You can put it in your emails. You can use it with your marketing. Just go to alzheimerspeaks.com if you're here in the U.S. Go to our About page and click on the Purple Angel tab, and there you'll get all the information. You just have to click on a button, and then I will send you a kit with all the information that you need to get up and running. We want that, again, Purple Angel to be as well known as the Pink Ribbon is for breast cancer, which again was started as a grassroots effort. Alzheimer's Disease International is the organization of all Alzheimer's associations around the world. And a lot of people don't know of its existence, but there you can get great global data. They do some wonderful research. They just came back from Perth, Australia, from their conference, so I'm sure there's lots of updates there. And you can also find the closest Alzheimer's association nearest you. One of my favorite organizations that I just so love to work with is called HealthStar Home Health, and they're located here in Minnesota. And these guys are just absolutely phenomenal. They have trained their staff to be what's called Alzheimer's Whisperers, and they share that information with the families that they serve to help ease their life when they're not there. So check them out, HealthStar Home Health. Another organization that I don't think gets enough credit is the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation. This is an organization that focuses more on holistic ways to deal with dementia. So there we're talking about food and diet, exercise, meditation. They regularly do various educational forums and memory screenings. So check them out, the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation. Now, many people are dealing with certain types of dementia, like Lewy body or frontal temporal lobe, or maybe they're having trouble speaking, which is called aphasia. Each has organizations out there that you can tap into. And if you don't want to Google it, just go to alzheimerspeaks.com, go to the bottom of any page, and you'll see their logos. Just click on it. You'll get right to them. And then music is just such a powerful tool, and one of my favorite companies is Alzheimer's Music Connect. Rod Gregory started this company. His mother recently passed from the disease, but he is just so heartfelt in his work. And his company has put together some great CDs that help people connect just a little bit longer after they've listened to the music. In fact, studies have shown that they are more engaged for about 3 hours after listening to the music through his pending patent technology that he uses, which you will never hear. You'll not notice. You'll just know that you two are enjoying the music. If you haven't heard of the new company or organization that's just rolling out called Dementia Action Alliance here in the U.S., they are absolutely a fabulous organization, really out to help help people in general live with purpose and talk about what is person-centered care. So check them out, Dementia Action Alliance. Last, I just want to mention are a couple of activities that you can utilize. If you've got a loved one with dementia who likes puzzles, check out Puzzle with Me by Jane Snyder. Again, she was personally dealing with dementia and designed puzzles that are smaller, more appropriate for adults, bigger pieces, yet fewer of them, and more age appropriate. And then Jiminy Wicket is a great source that people can tap into. It's an adaptive croquet program and really a lot of fun. It can be used by a family or it can be used by schools and organizations for education and that one-on-one learning. Again, Jiminy Wicket, great organization. The last I want to mention is a new trial study that is out and about by Access to Patients. And if you go to alzheimersspeaks.com, right on front and center on our webpage, there's a big graphic that says STAR Studies, and they are looking for people to participate in that. You can actually click on the screen. It'll take you to a little information about it, and from there you can go one more click and do a pre-screen to see if you're a fit for the study. So I would really encourage you to check that out because we need these studies as much as we need support services right now. We need the studies to get up and running if we're ever going to find a cure. And the STAR study is really out to reshape treatment for Alzheimer's disease and get things moving in a different direction. So let me go ahead and introduce our guest today. I'm excited to have her with us. She lives right here in the Twin Cities with me in Minnesota. Her name is Michelle Chafee, and she is the creator of ALSCA, and she is the CEO and founder of Care Hope. And you have to excuse my voice here. I'll have her pronounce both because I know I'm kind of going in and out with my voice, which is she's really about optimizing technology in terms of what she does. She, loves to advocate, and that's always come really naturally to her. And it was through experiencing some family medical crisis, which we all end up eventually going through, and hospital errors and the stress of being a caregiver that prompted her to think of being an advocate as a professional and to create an innovative care model that would help people who are struggling like she was. It's her goal and her passion to keep clients healthy, happy, and safe and out of the hospital while minimizing stress on family. Wouldn't that be nice? Her work as an advocate led her to developing her company and a web-based software tool that helps patients and caregivers improve the coordination of care, provides secure mobile accessibility to vital health information, and to better manage chronic disease. It's Michelle's belief that everyone, absolutely everyone, has the right to receive the best care possible, and that individuals truly need to be engaged in their process. They need to protect and be aware of what's going on with their own health. So, Michelle recently spent some time as a medical investigator working for the Attorney General here in Minnesota, Lori Swanson, where she investigated claims of substandard practice in Medicare and Medicaid fraud made against physicians, dentists, and other healthcare providers. She speaks regularly uh, um, on the importance of advocacy, and it is it's just so wonderful to have you with us today, Michelle. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thank you, Lori, for having me. It's good to be on the show, and what you're doing is wonderful. There's such a need for support for caregivers.
Great. And I'm going to have you go ahead and say the name of your company again because I know I kind of cut out, and my voice is my voice is just that's where it is today. So, do you want to tell me the name?
Yeah. My company is called CareQuo, and the software product that I created is called Alska, which is actually a Swedish word meaning love and respect.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of neat. It's always interesting to find out how people come up with their names for their company. Can you tell us, first of all, I always like to ask people, and the answer doesn't make any difference, but it just gives our audience a background. Have you been personally touched by Alzheimer's and dementia, within your own family or friend circle?
Yeah, with both Alzheimer and dementia. In fact, just over the past few weeks, I was helping my husband and his family with his aunt who has Alzheimer's and moving her to an assisted living and all the struggles with that. And then with my advocacy business, several of my clients, had Alzheimer's or some form of dementia, along with other health conditions.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. It's always just interesting for us to know a little bit of background there. Why don't you tell us what prompted you to start a professional patient advocacy service? Can you give us a little more in depth? I kind of highlighted a little bit, but
yeah. So I worked as a respiratory therapist in the hospital for now it's been just under 20 years. So I worked in large teaching hospitals, Loma Linda University in California, and then here at the University of Minnesota, and also some rural hospitals. And during that time, I certainly saw that, patients who had a family member advocating for them, whether they had a medical background or not, it really improved outcomes. And then about 7 years ago, my mom had a very debilitating stroke where she lost most of her vision. And at the time, I lived about an hour outside the metro and, was driving back and forth to advocate for her while she was in a hospital here in Minneapolis. And I found, when I was there daily, making sure, everybody knew what she was allergic to and, understanding what testing was being done and explaining to everybody, no, this is not her baseline. This isn't how, she was prior to the stroke. She was active and vital. Things went okay. But then once I used all my paid time off and had to go back to work, I became very frustrated when I would, call the care team to get updates and realized there were gaps in communication. And even though everybody was trying their best, she was given medications she was allergic to and things like that started happening. So I started to think, wow, I wish there was somebody like myself who I could have go there and check on her even once a day and give me kind of a report back, that I would feel so much better if I had that. So then I started thinking maybe other people would also want something like that. So I did about 2 years of market research trying to find advocacy models, professional models, and I really wasn't successful in finding any. So I created my own model and all of, my documents and how I thought things would go. And then after about 2 years, I got my first client and right away realized, it would be nice to have a web-based tool to store healthcare information, keep families updated in real time rather than them waiting for batch, emails from me, and then also to keep track of biometric trending. So if a patient, for example, has heart disease or has just had heart surgery, we were keeping track of weights and things in notebooks. But then when I would take them to the doctor, we spent the first 15 or 20 minutes with me updating the doctor on everything from medications to, what was going on at home. So that's when I started to think about, developing what now is ALSCA.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I too, that's kind of how I started Alzheimer Speaks, was I just felt, boy, we got a lot of holes here. We got to plug this. Our care delivery services is like Swiss cheese out there, and I think a lot of the big organizations and insurance companies and stuff think that it's really solid, but the public just really sees the holes because that's what adds all the stress and creates even more of a burden. So I commend you for taking the time, because it does take a lot of time to develop new ideas and to kind of buck the system and try to improve things. And that's the only way we're gonna make headway, is for people to say, hey, this is important. This really needs to be done. So again, I thank you for that. Can you tell us what can people find when they go to your website? I know it's under development right now. You had said you're looking at probably a May 15th date, and I know those can change with technology. You just never quite know. But what will people find there?
Well, when they go to the site now, they'll see essentially a description of what tools the software provides. So they'll get a little bit of the medical record storage piece, the updates for families, which was critical. I created a prototype and used that with my clients and their families for about a year. And again, that was a theory. Me thinking, I think if people are getting information directly from the person that's, in contact with their loved one, that's better than, them waiting for me. And I think it would be more helpful if doctors can see exactly what's going on at home, or we can store insurance cards and things like that are readily available, that would be helpful. But then introducing it to my clients absolutely proved that it was helpful in all those ways and then some. So right now there will just be some descriptions of the key features, and anybody who's interested in using the software when it's done can just send me an email at michelle@alscacare.com, and then I'll add them to my mailing list and keep them updated when it's ready to be used. And I'm actually looking for some beta testers out there to use it at no cost for at least a year, and just keep in close contact with me and, share their experience and tell me how it could be better and things like that.
Okay. Wonderful. Right now you've been dealing with individual families. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. When I created my model, I think I was finished with it was about 3 years ago, I got my first client, and that was just by word of mouth. And then through word of mouth, I kept getting more clients. So it was usually adult children with aging parents with, dementia and other medical problems who were in the midst of some kind of a crisis, whether it was a hospitalization or a situation where they just weren't sure if their loved one, could stay at home, or it was time to transition. And they would contact me, and then, I would go in and do a complete assessment and come back to them with my recommendations, whether it be, getting a companion in place several times a week to, take care of things like housekeeping and meals. A lot of times there was, medications to reconcile, certainly if there had been a hospitalization followed by a visit to rehabilitation, because things tend to get a little bit discombobulated in that process. And then I would just kind of come on board and be the main coordinator, communicating with everybody and, take care of all the details all the way until, with some of my clients, the end of their life and going through hospice care at home and organizing all of those details. so family could just stay focused on, loving their loved one, and I would take care of all the stressful pieces.
Okay. That's a nice thing to be able to tap into. That's for sure, and a great service to offer because so many times people lose their relationships through these caregiving modes, and they just become so overwhelmed. So to be able to have that kind of support, can you tell us, maybe give us a couple of specific examples of how you help families, maybe kind of little storylines of what happened and how you jumped into play?
Oh, absolutely. Well, there were several situations. One in particular where very often with caregiving, there's one primary family member who's taking care of most things, and usually that's a child, whether it's because, they live near their mom or dad, or they just feel like they can take it on, or, whatever. It seems like there's usually one. And I had one situation where it was a son who was, taking care of his mother, and he was the only one, living here in Minnesota with her. And he had not gone on any kind of vacation for 7 years because he felt like, he could not leave his mom at all. And once, he contacted me and I was on board and we had a companion in place, he actually took a vacation for the first time in 7 years and, took a trip down, the Mississippi, which was something he'd always wanted to do. And he was just so grateful that he felt like, somebody's here making sure, things are in place, and if something happens, she'll be covered, and I can, go and kind of live my life.
And that's really important. Sometimes caregivers need some respite, and a lot of people don't understand what respite means, but basically it's getting a break. And a lot of times the person you're caring for needs a break from you as well. None of us are that great to be around 24/7, and fuses can get short when either of us aren't getting refilled. And so it's really important to have that balance and to talk openly about getting balance, maintaining balance. Absolutely, very, very critical piece for people to consider. With what you're doing, how do you think that it's going to improve the healthcare system as a whole? Have you given some thought to that?
Well, it's interesting because being a healthcare professional, and when I started my advocacy model, I had to think about how am I going to be received in the hospital, because they're certainly not used to somebody having a professional advocate. They're used to family being there, but, I didn't know necessarily how I would be received. And once, of course there was that initial, wait, who are you? And, what are you doing? But then very, very quickly they saw that it helped them as well, because I already had an established relationship with the family and was also a healthcare professional. So I could kind of, liaison back and forth pretty easily to have the best outcome for the patient. So I even had nurses in the hospital then who were caring for some of my clients, say to me, gosh, if you're ever hiring advocates, I would love to do what you're doing and spend, more time personally with patients and their families. So I think, healthcare teams realize that when people have somebody advocating, it's better for everybody. It makes things easier for everybody. And right now, I don't know how likely it would be that there could be a team of professional advocates. My hope was when I started that, Medicare and insurance companies would see the cost savings, because it's really pretty dramatic, and start to reimburse. And that would be a wonderful thing. But through the software, I feel like I can reach more non-professional caregivers who are really the ones primarily, struggling with caring for their family members, and then sometimes even their neighbors. I find in my seminars for caregivers that people are there who are neighbors of, aging people or people with dementia, and just because they care about them, they're put in the role of caregiver.
Mhm. Yeah, it is interesting what we pay for and what we don't pay for, what's authorized.
Mhm.
Um, I remember watching the Alive Inside movie where the doctor talks about how he can write a prescription for over $1,000 a month that has to be renewed every single month, but he can't write a one-time prescription for maybe an $80 iPod
Mhm.
that has a huge effect on somebody. And it's just so backwards in terms of
Mhm.
the help and the assistance because I don't care how old you are, but going to the doctor and having that second set of eyes and ears is so helpful to be
Mhm.
involved in your process and coordinating things. And when people are under stress or as we get older sometimes, or sometimes it's disease related, we just can't process it all clearly and concisely. And that advocate is just massively huge.
Yeah, even, those of us that are healthy, I feel like, and I write in my newsletters that everybody should have an advocate and, choose somebody that first of all maybe has the time to just attend an appointment with you because it can be overwhelming. And even as a healthcare professional, I've been in situations where something was unexpected with my health and I'm there by myself and I'm certain there were things that I missed or, didn't by the time I got home, didn't recall. So no, I think it's really important for everybody to have an advocate, in their health care. And then the software is just a really good tool for people who just want to do a better job of managing their own care or who are advocating on behalf of somebody. And the support team is so important in that. The support for, the person and then the support for that primary caregiver so they don't feel all alone.
Yeah. So can you tell us in the software what types of things will people find to assist themselves?
Well, the primary components, there's a communication piece, which is almost like a running status update. So I'll use an example of, say, a family member who's just transitioned, to maybe a memory unit or an assisted living. So families, who are involved obviously want to coordinate, who's going to be there when, and different things like that. So what they can do is, when they go and visit, they can enter a little note. I visited mom today and, we listened to music or we did a puzzle. Here's what she had for lunch, whatever things they feel are significant. And then family members, literally wherever they are in the world, can then see that, respond, share their own stories, share their input, and everybody keeps connected that way. And that was really, really important, especially when it came to making big decisions, like, should we move our mom or dad to an assisted living? And it was amazing with my clients what things, family members had remembered maybe from conversations 10 years ago or more. So they were just able to really, really keep connected that way. And then there's a calendar where, people can put on their medical appointments or just when they're going to visit, social appointments and things like that. And then there's a piece I call the vault, where you can securely store health documents, legal documents, advance directives, insurance cards. I found with my clients that, we were repeatedly asked for Medicare cards and insurance cards, and it was like one daughter who had it, and she was a busy executive, and so we'd have to keep asking her to fax this in. So with the software, it's kept in there. You can print it out, so you don't have to worry about somebody actually having a physical copy of it. And then there's also a place to share images. And I created that thinking for medical images. So if somebody had, a chronic wound that needed to be monitored by the doctor every day, you can take photos and the doctor and care team can actually log in and see if things are getting better or worse. but my families immediately started using it for social sharing. It was important, to them to see what's the view out Mom's window when she's in the hospital. Here's a picture of her. She got a new haircut today. She got new glasses. So we've now separated into social sharing and then medical images. We also have a secure video area where you can actually record hospital discharge planning or an entire doctor's visit if you want, and then share that with family members and whoever you decide. And the important thing is there are very, very strict permission settings. So you may want people only to see certain portions of the site. You may want a distant relative only to be able to view, the social status updates and not have access to medical or legal information. You may only want your physician to see medical information and not family social notes. So we have that capability in there as well.
Okay. Now, a couple of questions for you. On the healthcare information, like medications and doctors and contacts, things like that, is that something that can also be downloaded onto, let's say, if someone has a USB wristband or emergencies? I just think that would be nice if that was able to be downloaded.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we're working on an app. That, the basic information would be stored there, emergency contact information, allergies, medications. And it could be something that's on somebody's phone, but it could also be like a card or a bracelet or something like that. And then say, somebody had an emergency situation, they're in the ER, there's no family there, then the care team could actually request access to all the rest of the information. That request would go to the emergency contact person, who then would be alerted, oh, there's an emergency, and then they could grant access to more information. Because I also saw, working in the hospital, how not having information delays care and causes repeat testing. We'll have a patient in the ER and we don't know anything about them. Then, an ambulance driver brings them in, and we spend all this time trying to figure out what are their primary medical conditions, what medications are they on. That's another reason why I created the software, is to improve and expedite care.
Okay, which definitely needs to be done. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that one. Now, the other thing I found interesting was your video vault that you have. I think that's just a great idea. Even if it's if it's not video, if it's a recording of, the office appointment. Have you seen doctors kind of maybe throw a fit of not wanting? I mean, everyone's so worried about it, something's going to be used against them here in the U.S. because we're so happy. Have you seen any pushback on maybe recording a doctor's visit at all?
With my clients, we didn't have the video capabilities with the prototype I used. With my clients, we did just audio record, and they had no issues with that. I anticipate exactly what you're talking about. That there maybe will be doctors that say, no, I don't want you to record that. But to me, it's huge because it creates transparency, and if anything else, it's a protection for the physician, that they won't be accused of saying something that they didn't say. And yeah, maybe they have to be a little bit more careful, but I think that's a good thing. So there are a lot of things about it that are very, very new. And, we still have to see what the response is going to be. But I wholeheartedly feel like, people need to be engaged and involved and aware and take a really active role in advocating for themselves and advocating for their loved ones, even with their medical records. I think people don't realize that, I've been involved in discussions since I've created this product with people who create systems for health records, and they're arguing back and forth about who owns the records. And I'm reminding them the patient owns their records. They should be in charge of who gets to see their records. And so my product, has this HIPAA secure storage space where they can download all of their records, and it will help them organize and file their records if they want to do that. And even the government, it's healthit.gov, is now really promoting that with their Blue Button initiative, where you can, go online and actually get all your records, say from Mayo, but then they'll be sitting on your desktop, and what are you going to do with them? So now I'm providing a secure place to store them and organize them. So it's a new movement, and I think it's a shift that, people need to be in charge of their records and realize that they can be and they should be.
Yeah, I think it's very, very critical, and but I have seen the pushback at so many levels, and we're dealing with a child protection issue here, and I had a meeting and we wanted to record it. Oh my gosh, they just went crazy nuts. Everyone had to get on with their attorneys, and they're like, well, you have an attorney, so we can't talk. We need representation. And I'm like, but you'll be recorded if someone doesn't have an attorney. You would be. They could use that later, and they're like, well, you can't record that without our authorization. I'm like, yeah, we can in Minnesota. I mean, they don't even know the rules, with that. And I would imagine that's something that changes, but it's just, you're trying to communicate clearly with your team, and not everybody can be there, but everybody's so paranoid that, you're out to get them, and it's all evil and nasty, and it's like, no, it's really quite innocent. I just want to do a good job, I want to be prepared, and it's just it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating to see how the process works, and in many cases doesn't work because of the paranoia. And I understand that. I mean, the doctors pay big bucks, for insurance and stuff, but we really this is critical if we're really going to help people. If we're really, if that's really what the system is about, and sometimes I wonder, but if that's really the goal, then this should not be an issue. And
healthcare systems can only do so much. And I mean, that's what I've seen working in the hospital, is everybody expecting the hospital to do all these things to prevent rebound admissions. And what I saw was, well, the hospital can't control what happens with this person when they go home, and what are the resources there? Can they actually carry out these discharge instructions? First of all, do they remember them? And then secondly, do they have the resources to get to these outpatient appointments and follow up in place? And so there's a point where the hospital does all it can do, and then there has to be something else bridging that gap, which was why I developed my advocacy business, is thinking somebody's got to be there kind of to mind the store. It's really a simple concept. It's just, I felt like if somebody's, following this person across the care continuum, whether they're in the hospital or the clinic or at home or what's happening, and just keeping track of details and communicating all of that, I think care will be better. Because there were times I was in the hospital with a client, and I was, one example, I was in the ER with a client. The ambulance, they called me and said, we're taking her to the ER. I met the ambulance there, talked to the doctors there, knew what was going on with her. They transferred her up to ICU. I got up to ICU and heard a nurse tell a completely different story to the nurse there that was taking on that patient. And I said, no, that's not what happened. I was down there in the ER, and nobody meant to be doing anything wrong. It's just communication and what some people leave out or how some people perceive things.
Exactly. And I don't see how it can't improve things to have that consistency. I think that's one of the biggest problems, and we see it all the time. I mean, even with people's medications, they're going to 12 different doctors. Nobody really knows how one drug's interacting with another, and so then now you have to go to the pharmacist. But if you have someone coordinating all that for you and saying, hey, we need to double check this, we need to really look at this, and look at this closely, and what are the changes that are taking place, because
Mhm.
not all effects are good. A lot of them can be really
No.
inhibiting.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
find people assume that there are bigger networks communicating than there actually are. Like pharmacies, I think people assume that there's some huge global database of, if you go to pharmacy X, it knows that pharmacy Y, filled this prescription for you, and that's not the case. And then with people, changing insurance companies with jobs, then, that's a whole different thing, and maybe they have a completely different care group. Well, then this new doctor has no idea what a doctor gave you a year ago, if it was in a different healthcare system. So someday there may be that, big overlying communication piece nationwide, but right now it's not there. So the only solution I know is to say, individuals, you need to gather this information yourself. I'm providing you a secure, organized place to keep it so you can take better care of yourself and your loved ones.
Mhm. Yep. And it's one side is scary when it comes to storing data with all the breaches and stuff that
Mhm.
that have happened. Um,
Mhm.
but the access is so critical, and to have it quickly,
Mhm.
especially in an emergency situation, nobody has
Mhm.
that information readily available, and that can make a big difference in terms of quality of care. Um,
Mhm.
for somebody, or for us to know as family members what's going on with one another.
Mhm.
Really important stuff.
Mhm.
I was just at the city of Roseville had a big kickoff for becoming dementia friendly, and the fire and police were there, and they had the vial of life or the files of
Mhm.
life. There's both. One, it rolls up and goes in the freezer in case you have a fire; it
Yeah.
should still be good, and the other one goes
Mhm.
on the refrigerator, not real secure, but accessible. And
Mhm.
people aren't imagining, that someone's going to go in there, and you don't have to put down social security number, but again, the
Mhm.
contact information, the illnesses, the drugs you're
Mhm.
on, all that stuff
Mhm.
is so critical um,
Mhm.
for for physicians to really be able to do their job and do it well. And also, I
It
think it
really
helps
is.
families get that big picture, because sometimes we're so busy just checking off tasks that
Mhm.
we as care partners don't even see the big picture because we're just moving too fast,
Mhm.
and having that advocate on your side can really slow things down and um, kind of rebalance things. I guess is probably a good way to put
Mhm.
it. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. And then keeping, the support there too, even if it's, not in person, but feeling like you're not alone, and whether it's a sibling, that lives thousands of miles away, but you're still in contact regularly. And it really relieved a lot of guilt. I mean, that was kind of, a side effect that I didn't expect with the software and with my clients that used it, is that, they told me I felt so guilty that I wasn't there and I wasn't close by. But the fact that I could be in touch daily and I felt like I was helping, just offering support or my ideas and my thoughts, that, it made them feel so much better that they were involved.
mhm. Exactly.
Mhm.
It was just that, and it's that peace of mind too, to know that you've got somebody else who's used to dealing with all this crap. Because, I mean, to an outsider, to someone who's been healthy, and it's just a pile of crap, and you don't know
Mhm.
how to maneuver through the system, because a
No,
lot of
it's
these,
overwhelming.
oh, well, and they're not really user friendly. They don't guide
Mhm.
you in terms of what you should do. Um,
Mhm.
and so if you don't ask, you don't get the answer a lot of times. It's kind of like building a
Mhm.
house. Most builders will give you exactly what you ask for, no more, no less.
Mhm.
But they're not, you can pick
Mhm.
out one kind of door, and they're not going to tell you, well, I don't think that that's a good idea because you might have water issues in this case, or maybe we should make the swing this because it'll be easier access. Most will just say, okay, that's what you asked for. And they won't,
and you don't know
won't
what you
share
don't
their
know.
value. Yeah, and they don't share their insights and their value that could a lot of times really alleviate a lot of stress by just having a conversation, because they only have 10 minutes they can talk to you, or 15, because that's what the insurance companies say. And so having someone be concise on your part and maneuver that, and who can see the flashing lights going, danger, danger, that might not be good, makes a big difference in how that conversation goes or how that procedure ends up.
Yeah, and even people knowing that it's okay to ask certain questions, and very often people that aren't familiar with healthcare or working in the hospital, it can be a very overwhelming place, and they're intimidated to ask questions. And there's still a mentality a little bit of the doctor knows best and you don't ask questions, and it's becoming less that way and more of a team approach, which is a very good thing. But when you have an advocate, what I found is I could kind of be the bad guy, for the families as well. If they weren't comfortable asking questions, and getting the answers they needed, I was able to do it in a way certainly that was not offensive to the healthcare providers, because I'm, a healthcare professional myself. But it also, kind of taught them. I actually had a family that I helped transition. There was a daughter that stepped up and said, I do want to be more actively involved. Now that you've kind of, made things better, could you teach me how to step up and take a more active role? And so I did that with her, and a lot of it she learned just from watching me and how I interacted with healthcare teams. And, they were using the software as well, which really helped. And she felt very empowered, putting things in there like, what her mom's pain scale was or how much daily activity she was doing. She felt empowered to have the ability to keep track of and record those things. So then when she went to the doctor with her mom, she had these useful pieces of information to share as well.
Well, and that's kind of got to be exciting to hear somebody who's like, gosh, this helped me. I want to help others, in terms of knowing how to do this. That's got to make you feel pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing how, I thought, here's how I think things will help, but then it helped in so many other ways that I really wouldn't have even imagined, and it was very easy for my client families to use. I actually had planned on, with the prototype, taking a long time and introducing them and showing them properly how to use it, but we were in the midst of a crisis with one of my clients who had many, many children all over the country, and they were trying to organize, who's going to be in the hospital when, and I just kept thinking the software would solve all of these problems, so I kind of tossed them into it. And they all just immediately started using it, the way it was intended to be used, and it worked so well for them. And then even, to the point, another thing I wouldn't have expected, when their mom passed away, those last, year worth of the notes that they shared and the photos that they shared were so precious to them that I then put them on, a drive so they had them forever. And ironically, they stayed on the software for several months after their mom passed away because they were so used to staying connected that way. And they even gave the priest access to the site, and he utilized all of that to actually prepare his eulogy for her.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would have never anticipated those things.
Uh-huh. Well, that's really, that's very neat, and a lot just depends on how people communicate. I mean, it can be just very black and white, and this is it, and wah. And or people can be, I would imagine, sharing stories and things,
very
and
much.
being more intimate in terms of what's going on. Is there a place where people can maybe post like where there's actually like a storyboard for people to maybe post specific incidents that happened at all that they want to share? Or?
Well, it's called the notes page. So it's basically a chronological, and that's one thing we learned right away. There's no time limit to entering a note, and there's no limit to how long it can be, because that's what we found. Initially there was, and families were saying, I wasn't done with my note. So you can write as much as you want, and very often it was a whole story about, we went to visit and Mom talked about this, and this happened, when we were young, and families were saying, oh, I never heard that story, or yes, I remembered when that happened. And, so we're kind of delineating that now to even the social photos are going to be more of kind of a bulletin board, and we're talking about creating a memory book, kind of a place where you can share those kinds of stories and photos and things.
Oh, neat. I can see where that would really be very enjoyable for people to be able to have, because things like that, I mean, you might even want to try to hook up with with an actual company that does book printing, where they can drop those things in later on, and just really have a true memory book.
Yeah,
of
absolutely, because that's easy to do now. I mean, I've done that with pictures and created books, so that's a great idea.
Yeah, I haven't done that. I talk a big talk sometimes, but I haven't gotten that one done. But it would have been nice. It would have been really nice to have something like that. And I've seen some people pull these things together, and it might be a family vacation, or it might be a history of someone's life. I've seen people make books up for even people who are going to be placed in a nursing home, so that it has a history that's solid, with pictures and text and comments, and they can really get a feel for that person and who they've been all of their life, which is really pretty fascinating to be able to.
And that's important. And I think also it makes me think with people with dementia. My grandmother, who actually grew up living with my grandparents, she would tell a story over and over to all of her grandchildren about, the last Christmas she had with her mother. Her mother passed away when she was 9, and she talked about, this Christmas and taking an actual horse-drawn sleigh to her aunt's house, and they were Swedish, and, what they ate and all of that. And so about a year before we had to put her in an assisted living, I created a book. So I recorded her telling the story, and then I put it in a book and found pictures that I could closely correlate to that, and printed out and made a book for her. And then when she was in assisted living, I could go there with her, and we would look at the book and talk about the story again. And it's a great thing to do.
Oh, cool. Someone here, Wayne Metzger, had just put a comment in. He said he was at the White House Conference on Aging yesterday in Cleveland, and he said a huge focus was on caregivers, and they are using the term care force, which is interesting. We also have a caller on the line here, so I'm just going to pull them in and see what they have to say. We've got a caller on the line from a 216 number. You're live and on the air. Did you have a question or a comment we can help you with?
No, this is Wayne, and I just wanted to let you know that the White House Conference on Aging was very interesting yesterday and very informative. And there was a huge focus on caregivers and trying to find ways to assist family caregivers as well as those in the caregiving workforce, and hopefully to improve wage and benefit conditions for those workers that are in this very, very important area, who now really don't have much in the way of benefits and pay because they do an important job.
Oh, that's wonderful, Wayne. That must have been a really interesting conference. I had not heard the term care force, and I kind of like that. So we'll see if it catches on and what's going on. Maybe a lot of them are finally realizing that they're going to be in that position that they need care and quality isn't there, and they'd like their workers paid a little better.
Oh yeah, actually that was part of what they talked about. That the population is going to be growing with the baby boomers continuing to age, and there is a great need for proper training and that kind of thing. It would be great if they could launch an actual care force. Stop spending money on the military and provide money for a care force and start recruiting people like they did with the Peace Corps back in the day.
Yeah, it would be nice. Say, Wayne, while we have you on the line, do you want to give a plug for your concerts and what's going on with those?
Well, actually, the Alive Inside project has expanded. We are now a 501c3, and it's the Alive Inside Foundation. You can find us at aliveinside.org. We've connected with some very important partners. Todd Rundgren's Spirit of Harmony Foundation is one. The Alzheimer's Association is another. And Music and Memory we're also partnered with. We're still supporting their mission. And we've got all kinds of interesting things going on.
Oh, very cool. Now, next year, are you going to be doing another big round for the Dementia Aware Day like you did this year?
March 19th is the date that we have set for The World Will Rock Against Dementia, which would be hopefully a series of musical events all around the world. I know they're planning quite a few over in the UK once again, and I'm working on something major here in Cleveland, and hopefully we'll get other people involved in the United States as well. So keep an eye on that. We have a Facebook page for that, and people are posting their information on what they're planning on doing there. So we've got people in Germany, we've got people in Spain, we've got people in Brazil that are now interested. So it's going to be something very, very good.
Oh, very fun. Well, good. Congratulations on all of that. And I appreciate you taking the time to call in today and sharing what you have. That's what it's all about, is all of this sharing information to improve the lives of those living with the disease. So thank you so much, Wayne.
Well, the larger the better off we all are.
Yep, exactly. Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
Michelle, with your website, do you want to, I know you had mentioned that you are looking for some people to maybe help you with some beta testing. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody's interested in, giving it a try and using it for, a year at absolutely no cost and just giving me feedback on, what they think would make it better, what they like about it, what they don't like about it, that would be wonderful. And they can just send me an email, and then, when it's ready, I'll contact them and they can log in and I'll kind of guide them through the process. So it'll be kind of a close focus group that, I hope, at the end of it, there'll be ambassadors, in a way saying this is how it helped me and this is how it works, and we really want the feedback. I was lucky to use the prototype with my clients, and that feedback from them was so valuable. So we're, looking for a group of people to do that again.
Wonderful. And do you want to give them the address to your website and best way to contact you again?
Yeah, the website right now with the marketing site is www.alskacare.com, and my email is Michelle, Michelle, at Alska, ALSKA, care.com.
Okay. So alskacare.com, ALSKA, and then CARE.com. And again, you can always put Michelle at alskacare.com. You want to shoot her an email. And I love that the company name stands for Love and Respect. I think that's a really, really nice tie-in. Any last tips or comments that you want to give to our audience at all?
Just, to stay connected. I mean, what you're doing is wonderful, and I think, just having discussions and making your needs known and advocating, strongly for your loved ones and reminding people when you're in care situations who they are as a person, sharing things about what they've done in their life, what they like to do now are really, really important things to do, and just, keep connected and keep fighting the good fight.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really so appreciate your time and energy that you're putting into shifting how we give care to one another. It's an important piece, and again, I just commend you for all the work that you're putting towards this. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today, Michelle.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just highlight a couple of things before I wrap up the show today. One is we have our Dementia Chats webinar where you can speak to those with dementia. They are our experts. It is free. You can just go to, our blog or to our website and get access to that, or any of the Facebook pages as well. Go ahead and join our Dementia Chats Facebook page. On the blog, there was information. Oh, I should say Dementia Chat starts at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, 2 Central, 1 Mountain, noon Pacific Time, and if you're over in London, that's 8 o'clock tonight. For blogs, one of the articles that I posted had to do with long-term care, and there was an excellent article done by seniorcare.com. They interviewed 44 experts in the industry talking about aging in America and the misconceptions. There's some graphics that go with it, but it's a fascinating article. There's a short little 1 or 2 sentences by each, and then there's a little bit more in-depth information by each contributor as well. You can find that at our blog, or you can just go to our website, alzheimerspeaks.com, and to the right there'll be a scroll for the blog, and just when it comes up to long-term care, just click on that and you'll get to that information. It says critical information you need to know about long-term care. Our intern, Michelle Remold, also wrote an article on the 22nd saying Alzheimer's, a part of the plot, with a question, and it's kind of an interesting little post that she wrote. And then there's also a post that you might be interested in about Dr. Oz needing our help. He's kind of being attacked by the GMOs, and he's just asking for disclosure and labeling, and has actually been threatened in various ways. And I don't know about you, but I just think it's important that we know what it is that we're eating. Could it be causing disease? Who knows? Could it be our wireless phones? Could it be 10 zillion different things? Who knows? But we've got a right to know and be able to make that decision for ourselves. Our last radio show, I didn't have a voice, so I did a replay. But it's a great show, and it's about a new dementia health club starting up in Canada. And then there was also Fit Kits, which are products for those diagnosed. So you can check on those. Our next show will be next Tuesday. And again, feel free to check out Alzheimer's Speaks website. You'll get just tons of information on there. And if you think you might be a great next guest, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to have you join the conversation and raise your voice. Last, I'm just going to give a shout out again to the Purple Angel. If you want to help raise awareness and become a Purple Angel, just go to Alzheimer's Speaks About page click on the purple angel tab. You'll get all kinds of information, and then you just have to click on something, and I'll send you an invite to Dropbox to pick up everything you need to get up and running. Costs you no money, takes very little time. If you're looking for an Alzheimer's Association anywhere in the world, please go to Alzheimer's Disease International. There you'll not only find what's located closest to you, but you'll also get the latest global information and research at hand. If you want something more holistic, check out Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation. And if you're dealing with Lewy body or frontal temporal lobe or aphasia, which is trouble speaking, please contact those associations. They will be able to help you out a great deal. If you like music and you're a person with dementia likes music, please check out Alzheimer's Music Connect. They just do an absolutely fabulous job of helping people stay engaged and having fun and just kind of reducing some of that stress. If you're interested in partaking in an Alzheimer's study, you can go to alzheimersstudy.com, or you can just go to our website, alzheimersspeaks.com, and right up top there is a graphic talking about the study. Just click on that and you'll go right to it. They're really trying to reshape the way treatment is done for Alzheimer's disease, but they need people to participate in these clinical trials. So consider that. There's a brief survey you can take to see if you'll qualify. They've made it very, very easy. With that, I am going to sign off because my voice is not going to last much longer, and I need to be able to talk for Dementia Chats this afternoon at 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, 1 o'clock Mountain, noon Pacific, and 8 p.m. if you're in London. So hope to see you there. Again, I want to thank Michelle Chafee for joining us today and all she's doing for caregiver advocacy. Have a brilliant day, everyone. Bye now.
Hi, everyone. This is Meredith from the Senior Fitness with Meredith podcast, where I discuss all things for seniors, from fitness, your health and wellness journeys, how to be all over strong and beyond. I also have my mini podcast called Motivation with Meredith. It's a great, quick motivational pick-me-up for your days. Join me, listen now, search for Senior Fitness with Meredith on your favorite podcast platform.